Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Mage Site. I'm Drew.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are going to be talking about the storytelling system. This is probably one of the funnest things. It's where I get it's where you get the ideas for the characters. It's some of the funnest stuff for me.
Yep.
Character creation is always the funnest part of a role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I make so many different characters, like just sitting there, I'll start thinking of different kinds of characters. It's hard not to. So, Chris, would you like to tell us a little bit about what the storytelling system is?
Mage the Awakening is played with the storytelling system, primarily using a dice pool for the likelihood of success with a given action. For most mundane actions, the size of this pool is determined by adding a character's score in one of 9 attributes with their score in one of the 8 skills corresponding to the attribute's category. A character's advantages are other kinds of scores, often derived from attributes and skills. They are used for abstractions like how fast a character can move and how much damage they can suffer before facing further consequences. One such advantage is Willpower, representing a character's tenacity in adverse situations as a resource to spend for additional dice on a roll. Characters also have anchors, consisting of a virtue and a vice, representing the ideals of those concepts for the character, as well as a list of aspirations. The first two have the game benefit of restoring spent willpower, but also serve as a means of customizing a character, while the last provides beats towards experiences, in addition to providing an explicit understanding of what a character hopes to accomplish. Lastly, a character will have a set of merits, which represent uncommon or unique traits. A merit might represent a relationship with a powerful organization or a special talent. Merits offer benefits in specific situations greater than what can be gained by increasing one's aptitude in a skill or attribute. So, Josh, you wanted to talk about the history first before we go into the actual system of the game.
The role-playing game Ars Magica directly inspired the predecessor of Mage the Awakening, the role-playing game Mage the Ascension. Mage the Ascension is part of the World of Darkness games, made popular by Vampire the Masquerade. Mage the Awakening uses a 10-sided dice system. That system became popular in the role-playing game Shadowrun. The current iteration of that used in Mage the Awakening is called the storytelling system created by Onyx Path.
Yeah, and the Chronicles of Darkness world has a lot of other splats. You kind of mentioned Vampire the Masquerade is what popularized it, which of course would be the vampire splat.
In Chronicles of Darkness, it's Vampire the Requiem.
Mm-hmm. Right, Vampire the Masquerade was World of Darkness.
The funny thing is that the World of Darkness games are becoming popular again, like that's those setting and those things. But a lot of the writers for World of Darkness are actually people coming from Chronicles, and a lot of the ideas are starting to infuse. They haven't released a new version of Mage and Mage the Ascension, but there's no way that Mage the Awakening isn't going to heavily influence what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That is one of the things I really like about these game settings, this game system, is that there are so many different settings that you can play. There's vampire, there's Geist, there's humans, which I really enjoyed playing. That's actually one of my favorite ones that we played, where we're just humans, supernatural, going off and hunting creatures. I love that. And if you really wanted to get complicated, you can add different splats together. They match up pretty well, not perfectly, but very well.
That was actually largely the reason why the World of Darkness games got rebooted into what's now Chronicles of Darkness, is that that World of Darkness games were not compatible with each other. They were in the same setting, but the rules didn't work together. Chronicles of Darkness was explicitly created so that they could mesh together.
See, that's what I love. I love that. That really draws me in.
The other thing that's the big difference between World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness is there's a lot more hard lore in World of Darkness, like characters, names, specific factions that are acting. Chronicles of Darkness is more designed to have the storyteller pick and choose what he wants and where he wants. I don't have to think about the large vampire societies when I'm running a mage game, and in World of Darkness, you would have to ask those questions.
I like that you can.
No, you can, especially the last before they stopped producing Chronicles of Darkness books, some of the last few books were even more information about how the different worlds interact.
Cool.
It actually has as much lore as World of Darkness. It's just a little bit more vague.
The vagueness can help with creativity. It allows you to fill in the holes more if you want to, or not.
Going into the actual character template, I guess, you have a mortal template, and in the case of Mage, we have a Mage template that we add on top of the mortal template. And the first aspect of that template that we're going to talk about is the attributes portion. And I guess for mages, we can include Gnosis as kind of a 10th attribute that just mages have.
Yeah, well, it is definitely how it kind of gets used, though it's a supernatural trait for mages.
Mm-hmm.
Other settings...
Humans don't have Gnosis.
Humans don't have Gnosis, but vampires have blood potency,
right.
And mages have Gnosis.
Yeah.
So it's the only one that kind of operates that way. For like vampires, the blood potency does help like some aspects of their power. They don't use it in using their powers. Like it's more of a power reference.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for mages, Gnosis can sometimes be used like an attribute.
So the mundane attributes are grouped by 3 different categories. There's mental, physical, and social.
Cross-referenced as power, finesse, and resistance.
Right.
So each of the 3 categories has 3 attributes: 1 power, 1 finesse, 1 resistance. For mental, it's intelligence, wits, resolve.
Right.
Which physical is dexterity, strength, and
stamina.
Mm-hmm.
And for social, there is presence, manipulation, and composure.
Yes.
And each of the attributes can go, well, as a mortal, each of the attributes can go up to 5. So you kind of just have a score of a minimum of 1, and they're measured in dots, is what the game system calls them.
And the dots are basically dice.
Yeah. And in addition to the attributes, there is a set of skills for each of those mental, physical, and social categories.
The mental skills that are connected to the mental attributes are things like computers, investigation, medicine. The physical skills that are associated with the physical attributes are things like driving, brawling, shooting, using weapons. And then the social skills that are associated with the social attributes are things like, this one I just think is interesting, which is animal ken, which I really like because I think it's, I like talking to animals. And then there's also empathy, expression.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and of course you have the magical skills, the arcana that you can pick. Whatever path you pick, right. And then you get the death, matter.
Yeah, that's kind of why I included the arcana in the skills in our notes, because they are sort of the mage skills, not exactly, but it's a close comparison.
What else? Yeah, that's what magic is. It's a skill you develop, you learn, you practice.
And yeah, that's a good transition into what a skill check actually is, because you're taking one of your attributes, the score that you have in that attribute, with the score that you have in the skill that you're rolling. And that will be your base dice pool before any penalties or bonuses. And with the Arcana and the Gnosis, or I guess swap those, you have your Gnosis as the attribute and your Arcana as the skill. You will add your actual Gnosis score with your score in that Arcana. And that will be your dice pool for the spellcasting roll.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And going into what that roll actually is, you'll take those dice that you have in your pool and roll the whole thing and count how many are 8 or above.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be your number of successes. If you roll a 10, there's something that's called a 10 again property on most dice rolls. That just means that you will roll that again. You will count it as a success and then roll it again to see if you get another success. And a check sometimes has the 9 again property, so you'll roll again on 9.
There's a number of dice tricks: 9 again, 8 again, and rolling.
Right. And with skill checks, as well as spellcasting rolls, you have things that you can use to add bonuses. As the player, you can proactively add bonuses to your checks. You can find good equipment or whatever for a skill check, or you can try to find some advantageous circumstances for yourself. And with a spell, you have yantras, which are like actions that you take, or maybe just some symbolic thing that you include in the spellcasting. And with these things, you can get some bonus to your spellcasting roll. So it's not strictly your attribute and your skill or your gnosis and your arcana. It could be those plus some other stuff to get some extra benefits.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to penalties and bonuses, that's actually how we handle difficulty as well. When something is hard, we take away dice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You only need one success on the die roll for the check to be successful.
Exactly. So the game spells it out saying that if you have 3 dice, you're more than likely to get a success. It's actually if you have 2 dice, you're more than likely to get a success. But you have 2/3 of a 2/3 chance. So you have a 44.4 repeating percent chance to fail. So you have a 55.5% repeating chance to succeed with 2 dice. But obviously you have more of a chance to succeed with 3 dice. It's more like 70 to 80%.
With dice pools versus the D20 system for D&D, it's probably less random because you might not have one die that, the more dice you have, the more bell curvy it is.
Mm-hmm.
I like to add in die using yantras quite often because yantras is basically like a wand. Like if you see a witch using a wand, that's a yantra.
A yantra is a magical tool or a spell component. It's anything that helps the mage imagine the spell that they're casting.
Mm-hmm. It could be a dance. It could be a poem, like a chant. It could be a wand.
Sometimes it's their identity.
So in addition to succeeding with a single success, the system has what's called an exceptional success, where you get 5 or more successes on a roll. And actually with spell casting, if the spell that you're casting is what's called a praxis, then you will succeed on you will have an exceptional success on 3 successes or more.
Yeah. And the practice is basically a spell that you have learned,
it's a spell that's part of your magical identity.
Yeah.
It's one you like to cast a lot.
You like to cast a lot.
The main advantage of the exceptional success is to use it to gain arcane experience, to learn more spells, or to increase their gnosis. It means the spell is something that is part of how they learn and explore magic.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about what the experience system is in the game. You get experiences from gaining 5 beats, and you will get a beat for various things, like basically just role-playing, or in the case of spellcasting, like we said, you get an exceptional success, you can get a condition from that. And when you resolve that condition, you get a beat, typically. And very much they want to include that specific benefit with exceptional successes.
Gnosis and Arcana are particularly expensive.
Right.
They're more expensive than a vampire's powers, for example.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gnosis is the same as Blood Potency, isn't it?
No, it's one higher.
Oh.
On top of that, mages need to learn rotes and praxises, which themselves are expensive, costing a whole experience apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Mages need to have an extra supply in order to advance in their as mages.
Interesting. Yeah, Gnosis costs 5, which is a little bit why we were hesitant to include that with attribute, because the attribute cost is only 4.
Gnosis is actually in some ways equivalent to your character's level. It determines how powerful your spells can be, how many yantras you can use, how much mana you have, how many active spells you can have at any point. It also, the higher, there is a negative to having high gnosis as well, which is it makes paradox worse. Starting players don't have to worry about it, but once you advance to that level, it becomes dangerous.
Yeah, there's so much power that you're pulling from the supernal that if you happen to pull even just a little bit too much, it's going to be much more than it would have been if you're just starting out as a mage.
Cool. Have to, add in the difficulty too. Otherwise, you'll be too easy.
It's a nice way to bring in an element to the game that is harder for newer players to have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gnosis, your Arcana also acts a bit as limiting your power. The powers you have are limited by how much in an arcana you have.
In addition to equipment, you also have skill specialties. So if you're doing something in your skill that's related to the specialty, then you'll get a +1 die bonus.
Skill specialties, you start with 3 of them. If you want more, they're 1 experience piece. They're narrow focuses for your character's specializations.
So you get to refine 3 of your skills with skill specialties.
Mm-hmm.
Skill specialties are single words or short phrases that narrow down your character's particular area of expertise. For example, if you want to raise up your occult, you might have occult witchcraft or occult ghost, or say you might have driving race car driver, and that will up your skill in those.
You could be drive stunt driver.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a narrow focus of that skill.
Mm-hmm. Right. Here are 3 ways to decide how you want to use your skill specialties. If there is a particular inferior skill that you would like your character to be more proficient in, that is where you use the special skill to enhance that particular skill, like race car driver or mountain biker for athlete. Another one, you can downright master a skill by putting 4 dots in the skill to start off with, then using a special word or phrase to enhance that skill. It will make you better than anybody with that skill who has 4 dots in it. Like anyone else who has 4 dots in that skill, you'll surpass them no matter what. I mean, as long as the dice are on your side.
Specialties help you shape your character. You're not just a doctor, you're a surgeon. You're not just good with guns, you're a prize shooter.
And then it can just be used to give your character a little personal flair and flavor. It doesn't necessarily have to directly benefit them in the game, but it would say something about their character and their priorities and things like that. That one I haven't really used much, but it's there for, that background, trying to give your character a little bit more of a 3-dimensional bite.
And your attributes also have derived stats, I guess. The game calls them advantages. So you have your health and your speed and your initiative and things like this come from combining different attributes generally. I guess some of them you would combine an attribute into skill, but you're combining these scores to get these derived stats called advantages.
Some advantages are static, like size.
True. And your size goes into your health. I think it's your size and your stamina is how much health you have.
Yep.
You have willpower, which is your resolve and your composure. Wits and composure is actually like kind of a perception roll. So it's instead of having an attribute in the skill, it's actually a skill check that's using 2 attributes. I just thought of that.
Yep.
It's not really an advantage, but it is kind of, because it's not a skill check either, because it's 2 attributes that you're rolling. Your character will have what the game calls anchors, and I think it's called an anchor because it's anchoring your character to the story.
Yeah, so the anchors are your virtue and vice and aspirations.
Mm-hmm. And in Mage, there's obsessions as well.
Oh yeah, and obsessions, which I'm thinking very hard about my obsession for my character. So the virtue and vice, that one's been rather hard for me when I've been working with other characters, because what's a virtue? Patience, loyalty. I mean, you can probably do a lot with loyalty and things, but there's just something I don't know, I want something more unique.
I like playing characters that are different than myself, and virtues and vices are a real in-depth way of jumping into your character's mindset. But you can also think about virtues and vices in terms of their mechanical effect on the game, that they work with the willpower system, and it's how there are the ways that your character recovers spent energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the game does in order to get you to want to lean into them. Because every time you use your virtue or you use your vice, you get back willpower, which you use willpower to cast spells. Or you can.
Yeah, willpower helps you do anything. So in any of the other kinds of Chronicles of Darkness games, just doing normal things, willpower is how you ensure that you actually pass a check, or your character uses them when they would want to, when they actually have need to push themselves harder. to win a fist fight that they otherwise couldn't win. Since it enhances everything you do, the anchors directly get you into thinking about how your character recovers that willpower, how they regain their strength. The vices are the things that is easy. It gives you a little. It's easy to do. You get your energy back quickly. While your virtues are you at your best. So when you're really tested, when your character is put on the line, the true you that comes out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's cool to figure out how to use those in the story like that. Okay. The other anchor is aspirations. You can choose 2 short-term aspirations and 1 long-term aspiration. So that's 3 altogether.
Well, you can pick any number. I think that's just a suggestion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
not any number. You can do any kind of aspiration you want.
So you get 3 aspirations altogether. You can do all 3 of them long-term if you want to. The book just suggests that you do 2 short-term and 1 long-term, because if you...
Well, you're not guaranteed to accomplish any one of the aspirations. So having short-term ones ensures a kind of even, and the long-term keeps you focused on your character's actual long-term goals.
And the aspirations, when you accomplish them, what do they give you?
Beats.
And mages also have obsessions, which is sort of like a magical aspiration, but it's a little bit different. It is an obsession. It's something that they spend all of the time doing and thinking about generally.
One of the things about Chronicles of Darkness is that the anchors are actually different for every different game line, except that mages have the anchors that mortal humans do. There's one more anchor. Mages have wisdom, which helps shape your relationship with your magic. Aspirations are like little story prompts in their design. They force you to stop and think about what your character wants or what intrigues them in magic, what their drive is. Mm-hmm. And anchors as a whole help you with role-playing mechanics, something that a lot of systems kind of don't have.
Cool.
And kind of the last way to customize your character is with merits. And these are things like if you have, say, a mentor, that's a merit, or if you have allies or contacts with a specific group, those are merits. And so then you can use these for in-game benefits to say that you want to get maybe some information or maybe an item or some other equipment or whatever.
Merits provide you assets and the powers and abilities that you can pick up. Like picking up class features. So if you wanted to have your character be awesome at Kung Fu, merits are how you do that. Mm-hmm. Merits are there to help customize your character. So we talked about Mage Sight the other week. There are merits that improve your passive Mage Sight, so that you, even in the passive form, you are aware of which arcana that the spell was cast in. So a character might be sensitive and be able to pick up on those kinds of things. Merits are where you get to start bending the game rules towards your character concept.
Mm-hmm. It's also you can have a familiar if you want one. Right?
Yeah, that's a merit.
Yeah, it provides you assets. Mm-hmm. So there are some merits that grow your character vertically and some that grow them horizontally. Mm-hmm. They are the cheapest thing for experience. There are some cost up to 1, others up to 5.
Mm-hmm. And even like a familiar has different dots depending on what kind of familiar you want.
Like how much power they have behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not every merit has a scaling cost or different costs. It's just sometimes they'll just be, it'll be like a 2-dot merit and you can only spend 2 dots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the cost of the merit is just 1 experience per dot that it costs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But hey, take the merit striking looks if you want your character to be stunning gorgeous.
Or ugly as fuck.
That's true.
Go either way.
And all these things that we've talked about are basically all of the components that go into a character in this game. And the game kind of explains that generally you'll start from a character concept and then you'll want to go through and decide to do these things for what would fit that character. But I also have a lot of fun. You can go the other way and think, this is what I want to do with the character, and this is even more maybe what I want to achieve with them, and then think, what would that character be from there? Like, for the character that I played in the first game that I played was, for whatever reason, I just wanted to go resources 5, which is 5 dots in the resources merit, and resources is like money, basically. So how wealthy you are. And so I was like, I'm just going to go filthy rich kind of.
Cash.
Yeah. And that was the starting point from the character. It wasn't really from a concept of what I actually wanted. It was just this thing. And it was actually specifically this merit that I was like, let's kind of go off of there.
That's a good example of how merits really are your character's identity. When you choose merits, you're sort of asking how do I define this character I am writing? What is their defining element?
Mm-hmm.
I always tend to start building characters from TV shows and books and stuff that I watch and read. I can't help it. I have character sheets I have created for certain characters that I enjoy watching. And that's what I'm excited about for this Let's Play, is I'm playing Fletcher, who's my character concept is Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote. So I started off with, I wanted a woman who husband dies, and I was going to make her childless, but I decided not to go like straight that way. But, it's like, what would cause this, 50-something-year-old widow to wake up, and what would that look like? Also trying to look at, like, from, Jessica Fletcher's point of view, from watching all the Murder, She Wrote that I love. Okay, well, what would her virtue and her vice be, and how does that play into the different aspects of her character and what magic she'd be interested in? And I actually think she's turning out to be a very, I don't know if I want to say intimidating or scary character, because she brings up a lot of feelings in people they don't want to face. And I just love that about my character. I'm going to have a lot of fun with her.
That is sort of who she is, the truth you don't want to face.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my character that we're playing in this Let's Play was kind of inspired by a movie event, sort of, actually. Because there was the Pulp Fiction scene that we talked about with Bruce Willis walking into his apartment, and he sees a gun on the counter, and then John Travolta walks out of the bathroom and gets shot by Bruce Willis, who's now holding the gun that was left on the counter.
You were inspired by a number of like action scenes and from different films.
And also a somewhat non-action film, The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Well, it's a comedic action film.
Comedic action. It's an action film.
They definitely have plenty of action sequences in there, even silly ones.
That's true. There's slapstick fight scenes.
I mean, the dance scene I can still call an action scene.
All right. And the idea of that character, though, is to kind of like The Man Who Knew Too Little, or in this specific scene with Bruce Willis walking into his apartment, he thinks he's getting himself into one situation. He has no idea the danger or really who's really interested in the actions that he's taking and the disruption that he's causing with his actions. And maybe he doesn't know who that is, but he wants to be disrupting something. So that's kind of the point. That's the point of his magic.
Cool.
I've not had a chance to make my own character in Mage the Awakening. I'm always the storyteller. But I do make a lot of side characters or
NPCs.
For the story. And I generally approach character creation in that regard from a story first and then flesh it out. Often the character creation process adds in dimensions that I didn't have for the character initially, so that have a unique impact on the story.
Mm-hmm. Do you give them virtues and vices? Always. Cool.
I always try to make sure that my NPCs aren't following a script, that in their scenes that they're in, that they're following their own motivations.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. If you want to hear more of us, we have a Patreon you can go to, Mage site, as well as an Instagram. Go check that out. And we will be here next Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.